Today you will step into a world where the concept of safety is merely a vague luxury. These are sheer cliffs carved into the ground by human hands, dilapidated wooden bridges swaying over bottomless abysses, or roads where a car breakdown would leave you swallowed up by the freezing -50 degrees Celsius. This is not an exaggeration. These are real roads where every centimeter of deviation costs lives. Do you have the courage to face this absolute isolation in these fateful turning points? Indian Kisroller. A brutal cut on the groin. This road wasn't built in the conventional sense. It's as if it's been gouged straight into the side of the mountain, leaving a thin strip of earth clinging tightly to the Himalayan cliff. There were no guardrails, no safety barriers, just a narrow passageway wide enough for a car to squeeze through on the left. The rocks jutted out so low you could almost hear them scraping against the car's roof. And to the right wasn't just a deep chasm, but a complete void. Where the Treep River is now, just a small streak far below. Here, driving is no longer about controlling the steering wheel, but about controlling every centimeter, with every steering maneuver requiring near absolute precision. Because even a slight deviation would mean the car would have no chance of turning back. The scary part isn't the speed or the slope, but the constant awareness that you're teetering on an extremely thin line. A place where every mistake has no chance of being corrected. Yashalabas is the most dangerous mountain pass in India. Continuing our journey in India, we faced the Yila Pass, the most treacherous high point on the highway connecting Shinaga, and led at an altitude of over 3,500 meters. The thin air caused the car engine to frequently sputter and passengers to easily experience hallucinations. Yoshila is dangerous not only because of its height, but also because of the terrible chaos it creates. This is the only road connecting the isolated Ladas region to the world, so the density of trucks and buses is always suffocating on a narrow, bumpy dirt road. Winter resorts are all closed off by snow that is dozens of meters deep. When spring arrived, the army had to dig through the ice to reveal roads full of deep potholes and fast-flowing water from the melting snow. On sharp turns, the maneuvering of two massive trucks avoiding each other is a risky magic trick. One of the two vehicles often has to reverse dozens of meters on the slippery edge of the overpass to give way. The roar of the engines mingled with the whistling wind through the mountain pass, creating an atmosphere so tense that even the most experienced drivers would tremble. The Guoyang Tunnel, a tunnel of will and blood. From the Taiyang Mountains, China's Guoyang Tunnel stands as a testament to human perseverance. In the 1970s, 13 villagers from Guoyang single-handedly used hammers and chisels to carve a road through the heart of a steel-hard limestone cliff in an attempt to escape their isolation. After 5 years of arduous work, a 1.2-kilometer-long tunnel was completed. But it also carries extreme danger with its rough, rocky surface and cramped space only about 4 meters wide. To let in light, they drilled 30 windows that opened directly onto the sheer cliff face. From inside the car, the feeling of seeing the deep abyss right at the edge of the window, without any white barrier, was a terrifying experience. The faint light filtering through the crevices in the rocks created dark, murky areas, making it extremely difficult to see oncoming vehicles. A small misalignment of the distance could cause the vehicle to crash violently into the cliff or hurtle straight out of that natural window. This road is not just a transportation project, but a harsh test of courage. Yasset Road, the indictment of the road to death. This trail begins at a chilly altitude near Nabit and slopes down into the Amazon rainforest. But it didn't feel like moving. It felt more like leaving a familiar world. The fog was so thick that the curves ahead were almost invisible, forcing the driver to proceed cautiously, guessing as to what he was seeing. There were no road markings, no barriers, just the edge of the road and the space behind it. In many sections, water cascades down from the mountains directly onto the road surface, turning the asphalt into a slippery, glass-like surface. The wheels could lose traction at any moment, but what makes it unforgettable lies on either side of the road. Those are the small crosses stuck in the trash along the bends in the road. Each tree marks a time when this path held someone captive. They stood there silently, without sound or warning, but enough for anyone passing by to understand that this was not just a dangerous route, but a place where the line between the journey and the end was thinner than ever. The Husseini suspension bridge in Pakistan allows you to walk on air. Leaving the driving behind, we face a challenge on foot in the Git-Baltistan region to reach the Haini suspension bridge. This bridge isn't a place you can simply walk across. It's a place where you have to convince yourself. Keep moving forward with each step. The wooden planks were loosely tied together, spaced far enough apart to require you to stride, but not sturdy enough to give you complete confidence in them. Beneath our feet, the water moved continuously, not gently but in powerful swirling eddies, creating the feeling that it was always ready to pull anything down. The wind blowing through the mountain pass caused the entire bridge to vibrate with each step, and that vibration was transmitted directly to your body with every stride. Your hands grip the cable, but even the cable doesn't stay still. It sways with each gust of wind. The most difficult thing here isn't the distance or the altitude, but maintaining stability. When fear itself starts to take control of your body, you can't go fast, but slowing down doesn't make things any easier either, because every second spin on the bridge prolongs that feeling a little longer. The Trift Bridge, precariously perched in the heart of a glacier, is located in the majestic Amper Mountains. The Bridge of Philosophy is a song about faith and adventure. This is one of the highest pedestrian suspension bridges in Switzerland, spanning Lake Triope at a height of 100 meters. This bridge was built to replace the pedestrian walkway in the valley after the glacier melted. Tripp's structure is extremely flimsy, just a narrow strip of steel with cable-stayed handrails, completely exposed to the swirling winds of the frigid highlands. When you step into the middle of the bridge, the entire structure will sway with each step and gust of wind. Beneath your feet lies a stream of turquoise water from melting ice, surrounded by sheer, 3,000-year-old cliffs. The danger here doesn't come from technical errors, but from direct exposure to the harsh elements without any shelter or protective walls. A sudden gust of wind can force even the most seasoned climbers to cling tightly to their cables, causing them extreme terror. Before the boundless void, the Golden Gate Bridge, splendor and spiritual darkness. The Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco is a sturdy symbol of modern engineering, but its danger lies in the unique combination of human and natural factors. Located in the strait connecting San Francisco Bay to the Pacific Ocean, the bridge is frequently covered in thick fog, reducing drivers' visibility to a minimum and creating a risk of chain reaction collisions. The drop from the bridge's surface to the frigid water below is approximately 67 meters, where a very strong ocean current flows. The real darkness surrounding this bridge lies in the heartbreaking statistics. This is one of the world's top destinations for people choosing to end their lives. The combination of the overwhelming height, the psychological isolation in the crisp fog, and the relatively easy access to the railings created a somber, symbolic weight. Although protective nets have now been installed, the name Golden Gate still evokes the fragility of the human mind in the face of the vast abyss and the deadly currents. The Togi-Brop Railway Line. The battle on the train roof in Bangladesh. The Tanjabar Book route becoming the embodiment of horrific rituals performed during religious festivals. Because demand for travel far exceeded capacity, tens of thousands of people risked their lives climbing onto the roofs of trains, clinging to windows, or hanging from tiny ladders. As the train sped along, these passengers faced countless dangers, from overhead power lines and leaded tree branches to sudden loss of balance when the train took sharp turns. Just a moment of carelessness due to fatigue or a slight inhalation from the crowd, and a person can fall and be instantly crushed under the train's wheels. Here, the danger doesn't come from the natural terrain, but from population pressure and the cheapness of life in the struggle for survival. The train moved like a giant, glass-covered creature, its occupants risking their lives on the hot steel tracks, where the line between journey and tragedy is as thin as a loose fist. The Mauritania Railway, a journey through the fiery Sahara Desert. The winding railway connecting Souras with Notabu is one of the most challenging experiences on the planet. This train, which is over 2.5 kilometers long, has no conventional passenger carriages. Local people had to sit directly on piles of black, rusty iron ore and loose iron in open carriages to travel 700 kilometers across the desert. The journey, which lasted nearly 20 hours, was a true physical torture. Under the scorching sun of the day and the bone-chilling cold of the night, the Sahara. Fine dust seeps into the eyes, nose, and lungs, enveloping passengers in a thick, suffocating black layer. Without safety barriers or seatbelts, passengers on the train must balance themselves against the violent jolts on the dilapidated track. A book falling to the bottom of the ocean of sand signifies a lonely departure where rescue is virtually non-existent. This is a journey of iron, sand, and an indomitable will to survive. Every kilometer traveled is a test of the ultimate limits of human endurance. The Kuranda Scenic Railway, nestled beneath the verdant forest canopy. This scenic route in Windsor looks like a romantic movie scene through the rainforest, but its terrain hides potential hazards. This railway line is carved into steep mountain slopes, crossing 15 narrow tunnels and 37 towering bridges perched right on the edge of a precipice. The greatest danger here is the instability of the tropical rainforest terrain, where torrential rains frequently cause landslides and rockfalls that threaten the railway tracks. On the sharp bends, the train seemed to float in midair, right next to the waterfall and plunging into the deep abyss. The feeling of sitting in creaky old train carriages, the vibration of the steel on bridges hundreds of meters high, is enough to make passengers hold their breath in fear of a sudden, sinking accident. Despite modern monitoring, the silent ferocity of nature constantly reminds humanity of its insignificance, as it clings precariously to the thin mountain slopes. Menal Sri Lanka, doors opening to the abyss. Sri Lanka's Menal Railway is famous for its picturesque scenery through tea plantations, but the habits of passengers create an extremely high level of risk. A distinctive feature of the trains here is that the doors are always wide open, and passengers frequently sit on the floor, opening the doors to dangle their feet or leaning out to take photos. As the train ascended the plateau, the tracks ran along the edge of deep valleys with no guardrails separating them. Just a slip of the hand during a jolt on the train or a sudden outstretched tree branch could send a passenger plummeting straight down into the abyss below. The contrast between the lush green scenery and the reality of you being suspended on a steel frame hurtling towards the edge of a precipice creates an addictive, yet deadly adrenaline rush. Here, safety depends entirely on the awareness of each individual. Where the line between a beautiful photograph and a horrific tragedy is separated by a fist that isn't held tight enough. The Taroko Road, a rocky corridor and geological ghost site, lies deep within the Taroko National Park. This road is a masterpiece of nature's sculpture, yet it harbors immeasurable dangers. This road runs along a narrow limestone gorge, where the Livu River has eroded the hard rock into sheer cliffs that reflect in the turquoise water. The danger of Taroko lies in the layered structure of the blind tunnels carved directly into the mountain, where sunlight never reaches and space is extremely limited. Here, drivers face the constant fear of rockslides from above. The geology of this region is extremely unstable due to Taiwan's frequent seismic activity. Even a sudden downpour or a slight tremor is enough to trigger massive hailstorms. It fell right onto the roof of the car. The sharp bends alongside the cliffs, some hundreds of meters deep, forced vehicles to move at a snail's pace, clinging so close to the rock face that rearview mirrors were almost scraping against the rough surface. Taroko is breathtakingly beautiful, but that beauty is always accompanied by extreme vigilance against the lurking geological specters that can strike at any moment. Babe D915, a dry stretch of fabric reaching to the ends of the earth. If there's one road that strikes fear into the hearts of every rider, it's the BBD 915 in Turkey. Stretching between the city and B, this road is a series of 29 continuous hairpin bends, climbing to an altitude of over 2,000 meters with absolutely no guardrails. The road's surface was not paved, consisting only of mud and slippery gravel, and was frequently covered by thick fog, rendering visibility almost zero. At D915, even the slightest mistake means death. On the sharpest curves, drivers have had to reverse mid-jump just to get enough turning space for the front wheels, while the rear wheels were teetering on the edge of a deep, bottomless ravine. The danger is multiplied when encountering a vehicle coming from the opposite direction. One of them had to reverse hundreds of meters down the steep, muddy road to find a narrow spot to avoid a collision, so narrow that the side mirrors of both cars were almost touching. This is where Arenal is pushed to its limits, where focus isn't just on professional driving skills, but is a prerequisite for having a chance to see the sun rise tomorrow. Saniba, a challenge to the giants. Located on the border between South Africa and the Kingdom of Lesotho, Saniba is one of the steepest and most challenging trails on the African continent. Reaching an altitude of 2,876 meters, this place is considered a graveyard for vehicles that aren't powerful enough. Authorities have strictly prohibited all vehicles other than four-wheel drive from passing through this area. The road surface is a chaotic mix of boulders, deep ruts, and steep sections with inclines of up to 30%. It challenges all the limits of the engine. In winter, Saniba transforms into a giant, slippery ice tower, with wind whistling through the mountain crevices at incredible speeds, powerful enough to shake even vehicles weighing tons. The steep, winding sections at the end of the route are likened to staircases leading straight to heaven, where the wheels frequently slip on loose rocks, creating breathtaking moments when the vehicle comes to a halt halfway up the steep slope. Saniba doesn't just test machinery. It tests human patience and the ability to handle extreme situations in the face of a wild, ferocious, and unforgiving nature. Skipper Canyon Route. The lingering effects of fear. In New Zealand, this stretch of road is so notorious that no insurance company will cover your costs if you drive on it. Carved into the cliff face by miners dating back to the 19th century, this incredibly narrow path runs alongside the deep, winding River Sodover. This is a village road, but it's used for both directions of traffic, creating dramatic confrontations right on the edge of a precipice without any protective barriers. The road surface, made of smooth crushed stone, is prone to collapsing after heavy rain, while the abyss below is dizzyingly deep. In many sections, your wheels are only a hand's width from the edge of the overtaking zone. Driving here requires an unusual level of composure. If you encounter oncoming traffic at the narrowest point, you might have to reverse for miles on a winding, seemingly endless route. Skipper Canyon is a place where time seems to stand still, preserving the ruggedness and danger of an era where gold was bought with blood. Where every edge of the road is a test of courage. The Kolim Highway, the Road of White Bones, and the Cold Death in the Eastern Russian Sea on the Kolyma route. The cold isn't just in the air, it seeps into everything around us, from machines to the human body itself. At temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius, the resetting fuel can cause rubber to begin cracking and metal to become so brittle that it breaks easily. Once the car stops, the issue is no longer about repairs, but about time. Because every passing minute brings the body closer to its limit of endurance. The road stretched through a vast, white expanse, where there were almost no signs of life. No gas stations, no phone signal, not a single proper rest stop. The isolation here makes every decision more difficult because there are no backup plans if something goes wrong. Beneath the permafrost lie stories buried from the past, and the name Road of White Bones is not merely a metaphor when traveling along this route. You not only face harsh nature, but also the feeling that you are passing through a place where human existence is always in a transient state. Don Tram Highway through the icy desert of the Arctic region. It stretches 666 kilometers across the Alaskan tundra. This road is the main supply route for the oil fields in Brott Bay. This road is not for family cars or faint-hearted drivers, as its surface is mostly gravel and swamps, cutting through wilderness areas teeming with grizzly bears. The greatest danger comes from the enormous 18-wheel trucks speeding along at extreme velocities, kicking up clouds of dust and rocks that fly like projectiles. It could shatter your clear windshield. Winter in James Downton is a nightmare of freezing temperatures and Quout, where visibility drops to zero for just seconds due to snowstorms. Like Kolyma, isolation is a silent enemy. For hundreds of kilometers, there were no gas stations or even a human presence. If your wheel gets stuck in a snowdrift, the rescue could cost tens of thousands of dollars, and you'll have to wait for days in the freezing cold. Tram Tin is a place where people feel the smallest before the vastness and cruelty of the Arctic, where even the smallest mistake has no chance of being rectified. The Karakoram Highway, a wonder and a haunting presence. Connecting Pakistan to China via the mountain range of the same name. The Karakoram is the world's highest international paved road, reaching an altitude of 4,693 meters. To build this eighth bridge, nearly 1,000 workers lost their lives due to work accidents and landslides. The dangers in Karakoram stem from a combination of high altitude, which dilutes oxygen, and extremely complex geology. Frequent landslides and floods cause the road surface to be constantly damaged and require continuous repairs. The roads run along the edge of the abyss, with rising glaciers below, creating extremely unstable and treacherous terrain. Driving at this altitude can easily lead to driver fatigue, slow reflexes, and headaches, while even a slight misstep could send the vehicle plunging thousands of meters into a ravine. Karakoram is both an epic of engineering and a reminder of the destructive power of the planet's highest mountain range. This is a journey of awe where majestic beauty is always accompanied by deadly risks hidden behind every sharp bend. Fairy Meadows, the entrance to the cannibals. If you want to reach the foot of Mount Nanaba, the peak known as the Man-Eater, you must pass through the gates of hell, which is the Fairy Midlands Trail. Here, fear is no longer just a feeling. It was a death sentence hanging over the edge of a precipice. This is just a narrow, rugged strip of rock and soil that the local people carved into the side of the mountain and erected vertically by hand. It's so narrow that it barely fits a bare-lip trip car, and there's absolutely no guardrail. Throughout the 10 kilometers uphill climb, your rear wheel will frequently be right on the edge of a chasm more than 1,000 m deep, where the wind whistles incessantly through narrow crevices in the rocks. A rolling stone or a moment of driver inattention is enough to end a journey forever in vain. Here, passengers entrust their lives to the skills of the local drivers, the only ones brave enough to navigate this treacherous road daily. Fairy Meadows is not designed for comfort. It's a direct challenge and a matter of survival instinct. When the abyss and the sky are only a hand's breadth apart, you will understand the true limits of human courage in the face of the awe-inspiring majesty of nature. Together we have traversed jagged cliffs, precarious suspension bridges suspended in midair, and some of the most isolated railway lines on the planet. These routes stand as a testament to humanity's yearning for connection in the face of geographical barriers. They remind us that somewhere in the world, travel is not simply a journey, but a genuine struggle for survival. If one day you find yourself at these crossroads, remember that not every path leads to comfort, but each path has a story to tell.